trying to get out here and film, but it keeps raining, but I might try and stick this out. Welcome back to my garden. This is my front yard, and if you are new here, hello, welcome. My name is Holly and I am gardening here in Perth, Australia, which is about zone 10B. So we're out the front of my house and I have my raised garden beds, and today we're going to do a bit of a tour and check out what's growing. We've had some quite random weather at the moment, so we've got rain, sun, and actually quite warm weather, which has sent a lot of my veggies to flower, but that's okay because the bees are happy, and also means that instead of getting one vegetable, I'm going to have seeds to grow a whole lot more, so that's great. But let's go take a look at what I've got growing in my raised garden beds. So these raised garden beds are predominantly my annuals. So this is a lot of quick growing crops that I can change up each season and grow a whole lot of food in a small space. So in this garden bed I've got a huge beautiful rainbow chard. It's one of my favourite things to grow. It produces so much food and it really brightens up a winter garden. So this one is huge, and I just harvest stems off the end here and add them to just about every meal. You can see here this is a lettuce that's gone to flower, so it's bolted, and now I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to collect a whole lot of seeds, which I'll show you in one of my other garden beds. I let a lettuce go to flower into seed at the end of summer, and I've ended up with hundreds of lettuces that I didn't have to plant, and so I'm just getting free food. So I love to let things go to seed where I can, save me planting, and I just get continuous food without having to do anything, which I love. And then look at this one. So with the warm weather, this one is starting to bolt as well, so it's time to pick this one. This is a Romanesco. It's beautiful pattern and they're huge plants. They take up quite a bit of space in these garden beds, but I've just been coming through and breaking off the branches that shade out other plants or the leaves, because it doesn't need all of these leaves, so I just will take off some of these to let light through. And down here we've got some more rainbow chard, some little bush beans, there's little radishes popping up that I've sowed. This is a water bowl for the bees so that they don't drown. I've got some rocks and a random stick, or the lizards. And you can see down here some self-sown. I grew tomatoes over summer, and any of the ones with holes I just buried in the back in the garden, and now they're regrowing this spring for another season of tomatoes, and I didn't have to plant any of them. A snapdragon under there. This is a choco, so I'm growing this one. I need to train it up actually. I grew this from a seed, from a store-bought choco, so I'm going to grow it up the arbor to provide some shade for summer. And this one, make sure you stick around to the end because we're going to be doing a little bit of a project with this as well, adding something new to my garden, so let me know in the comments what you think it's going to be. I'm really interested to know, and even if it's not what I'm going to do, then it might give me some inspiration for more projects, because I do love a garden project. And this arbor is new, so if you have been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I used to have some different shade structures up here, and I have replace that with a more permanent structure that I'm going to grow a whole lot of different things on. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not, because I'm going to do a whole video just on the shade structure, and also my plan for the summer, how I'm going to provide shade to this vegetable patch, because it does get so hot here. We get intensely hot summers, so shade is on my top priority, and I've already got things on the go for that, so we'll do a whole video on that. But on this side of the garden bed, so we had the Romanesco over there, the rainbow chard, we have another Romanesco down here in this corner. It's a little bit further behind. And then down here we've got kale. This is Tuscan kale, it's my favourite kale. This one was a watermelon radish that's gone to flower, so I'm going to save the seeds from that because I love watermelon radish. It's one of my favourite things to grow, so I'm happy to collect all of those seeds and forgo eating the one watermelon radish. These are chives. There's lots of other little things in here like celery that aren't getting enough light, but once things are harvested like this, it'll let enough light in and those will shoot off again. Another beautiful rainbow chard. Look at the colours on that. This one is a pansy, an edible flower that is the tiger. I think it's called the tiger's eye. It's got such amazing patterns on it. And then over here on this side, I've got a whole lot of greens, and a lot of this stuff is going to flower. So it's a shame that I'm not going to get to eat these, but that's okay. The bees are loving this, and like I said, I'll get a whole lot of seeds. So instead of just getting one radish or vegetable, I'm going to be able to save hundreds of seeds and grow those next year, and maybe just sprinkle a few throughout the garden, and then I don't even have to plant them. They'll just pop up next year when the soil temperature is right. So what have we got in here? This here is a rocket that's gone to flower, so it'll be very peppery. I'm not really eating it. I'm actually picking quite a lot of it and just using it as chop and drop, putting it as mulch throughout some of my gardens or in the compost bin, just to let some light in for the other things I've got growing in here. The rocket flowers actually taste like raw peanuts, so they are edible as well. And you can pop those in a salad or on top of a stir fry, and yeah, raw peanuts. Like the brown peanuts with the brown skin, those ones. And these radish flowers are also edible as well, but they don't taste as good. They kind of just taste radish, like they taste like radish. They're not too bad. They're actually quite mild and they're really pretty pink colour. So in there we've also got a silver beet. There's some spring onions that have grown from scraps. I just throw them in here. There's some bok choys and stuff that have gone to seed. Some more chives down here. And then over here we've got more Romanesco. So these garden beds, because they get different amounts of shade from the house, they actually create, I've got flowers in my mouth. Because of the different amounts of shade on these 4 raised garden beds from the house and the orientation, they have a natural succession. So these ones over here don't get as much sunlight, so they're a little bit slower, which is great because it means that not everything ripens at once, so I can get a bit of a staggered harvest even though I'm planting them all at the same time. And now that I've been gardening out here for a while, I sort of know the system, so I can plant a little bit strategically with that. So this one, our first raised garden bed, that gets full sun. Things go off in here, so I often will actually get a couple of different crops out of this one bed, and then the one at the back here is a little bit slower. So no real sign of a Romanesco yet compared to the ones over there that are ready to eat. And again, this one's, oh, we've got a little baby. And there's a little one in there. So this is going to be a really good succession of food, continuous harvest. And down here we've got lots of lettuce, and I've been harvesting all off the sides here. Some beetroot in here. You can see more rainbow chard. And then over here, this garden bed gets probably the most shade, so it's a lot slower. We've got garlic, we've got pineapple sage, my favourite herb, and it's doing well. And like I mentioned before, the lettuce going to seed. So look at all this beautiful lettuce. So this lettuce down here, I didn't plant any of it. It's lettuce that grew last summer. It went to flower, went to seed, and I just let it do its thing. I ended up grabbing some of the seeds and sprinkling them in other garden beds. So you can see the lettuce that was in that garden bed, that was from the one plant that was here that went to seed. And it's just all popped up and grown on its own. So I love that. It means that over time I do less and less planting because I let a lot more things go to flower and seed. And yeah, I've been eating a whole lot of fresh lettuce. There's plenty of little snails in there as well. And then we've got another Romanesco over here. I went all out in the Romanesco this year. Last year I did a lot of purple cauliflower, so this year I wanted to do something a bit different. And you can see the pond. I'll show you the pond progress soon as well because it's growing really well. So these are my Egyptian walking onions, chives, a whole lot of time here. Been using a lot of this, so a lot of it's fresh new growth because I've been harvesting so much. Parsley. Some bok choy, it's gone to flower. A little red cabbage. And there's lots of random things down here. I always pop seeds in, so we've got bush beans. There'll be radish seeds always popping up. I'm always sprinkling radish in the gaps, so those are always popping up. So close up you can see the little beautiful patterns on that. This is valerian root, which is really good for making sleepy teas. We've got calendula, some snapdragons, which are edible flowers. All my Asian greens have gone to flower with this heat. They just can't handle the heat. Some more radish in here. Looks like a beetroot. I always just pop seeds in. And over here, the last bed, we've got another little bowl for the bees. It's been raining, so these are full of water. We've got some cabbages in here, some garlic, more garlic, huge Romanesco, look at this. It's nearly taken up the whole bed. So I've been pruning off, you can see all of these were leaves and I've just been pruning them off so that it didn't overshadow everything. And I have it sort of leaning to the side so it doesn't take up as much of the bed. But this thing is huge. This is spinach, and this pretty much grows all year round. More chives, more snapdragons, some beans, some pansies. Look at the colour on these snapdragons. Some more radish. These ones are very spiky. I think this might be the daikon radish. It looks a little bit different to my normal radishes. Over here we've got some celery. Be loving all of this rain. Okay, so now it's time for a pond update. I'll give you a look at how the pond is growing, all the plants. So if you've missed my pond video, I'll link that for you. I've installed a wildlife pond in my garden so that I can attract lots more wildlife to pollinate my veggies and my fruit trees. I've got a whole bunch of fruit trees as well. We'll have a look soon. But yeah, it's grown really well. I'm so happy with it. So the parsley has gone absolutely nuts. I've been picking it just so that it doesn't overshadow things. I've got the kangaroo paw. I moved this little oregano because it was right under there. These are cornflowers. I had to take my floating light out because we got so much rain. It was getting caught up. And this is my homemade net with some fabric and a pot to scoop out all the leaves. We've got the yarrow, beautiful orange pansies, calendula, Down here's the little carpet mint, and you can see this sweet violet popping up now. We've got thyme, mint, the fairy lights or something like that. If you want a tour of everything that I've got growing, check out the pond video, because I did do a full tour of that. But look, my pineapple sage. I'm so happy with that. And there's all new growth on my guava. And this is freshly mulched, ready for something. I'm not quite sure yet. Let me know what you think. I'm kind of thinking some berries or something. Let's take a look at my fruit trees that I've got out here. They've got heaps of new growth since we trimmed them and mulched them, so I'm really excited to show you those. So starting off at the front here, we've got my dwarf lime tree, and now this lime tree has been a little bit sassy. I haven't had a whole lot of limes off it yet, but it is covered in flowers. So it's got all flowers and it's shot off heaps of new growth since I pruned it. So I pruned a lot of the bottom stuff off here. I thinned out a little bit in there, not too much. I definitely could have gone harder in there. And then we mulched and put it all underneath to feed the tree. But it's looking so much happier and healthier. Look at all these flowers. I can't believe it. And down here we have my feijoa. So this is a relatively new one. I only just planted it this year. And sort of a bit of a rare variety. So that, I don't know. So I'm interested to try this one. It did lose a lot of leaves, but I don't know if you can see, it's about to burst into new growth. So all of these shoots are coming back. And down below I've got lots of random things. So I've got kale and arrowroot, winter bulbs that have been pumping out the flowers. And then the blood orange, and again this one is just popping off all new growth everywhere. And there's little flowers in there too. So again, with pruning, I just cleared out a lot of this bottom stuff here, and pruned a little bit on the sides to even it out, but not a whole lot. And this is a guava. So it's got large green fruit. I'm not entirely sure yet because I haven't had any fruit on it. I only just planted this year as well. And then this is the mandarin, and again we've got lots of new growth. I actually did a little bit of grafting, so I've grafted the blood orange onto here and also the lime, just to practice, because so I'm doing some grafts onto some of my trees because one, I just want to learn and continue to learn, and grafting really excites me. I'd love to be able to collect lots more varieties, but not necessarily new trees because I don't have a whole lot of room. So yeah, I'm just testing out with trees I already have. So I've got the lime put on here and also the blood orange. And everyone gets really hammered with fruit fly, so that's why I've chosen to use this one. Sort of, here comes the sun. I don't know if that's any better. Because the mandarin gets hammered with fruit fly, this is the one I'm gonna cut back a bit. I don't really love the fruit on it. It's got quite a big seed in it, so I'm probably gonna start, yeah, using this as my test tree, and grafting other random citrus onto it. So we'll see how that goes. And then down here we have another named feijoa, and this one is a multi-grafted feijoa. So it's a duffy on the bottom and a white goose on the top, and again we lost some leaves but it's coming right. These little sticks are starting to burst with new growth as well. So I gave it heaps of mulch. This is from my feed jar out the back, and like I said, sometimes I just rip leaves off my annuals and chuck them down here. We've got lots of random things down here. And lastly, the lemonade, which is my first one to fruit, and so it's flowering earlier than all the others, and it's starting to put off some fruit. So this one fruited starting in April, so it's a lot earlier than my other ones.